So hi everyone, welcome to part 3 of the Dune Imperium Immortality stats for the rank season 1. I hope you're excited. We'll talk about the next 3 leaders. All these 3 leaders have above 25% win rate, so we are starting to talk about the very good leaders now. You think that in a 4-player game 25% would be quite normal, but here we are talking about the top 6 leaders, and only out of 14 leaders, only 6 of them have a positive win rate. So first of which we'll talk about is Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. I think Baron, as people like to call it in Rise of X, would be known as a top 2 leader. He does very well, and always featured in tournament games, always focus at the table. Baron, his master stroke ability gets him shipping access very easily, and his signet ring is very powerful. So here he is in 6th position at a 25.2% win rate. So he is quite popular still at around 540 games played, and of which he has 137 games. So he's played quite a lot, and he wins decent amount of times. I think one thing to note with Baron, right, is that if you compare him to his Rise of X stats, his Rise of X stats are actually pretty similar in terms of tournament play and all. But yet, I think strong players rate him very highly. The transition between Rise of X to Immortality, I think, mainly functions between due to experimentations. How you need to play your experimentations a few times to get your scarab point on your research track, and what mainly that takes away from is people playing their signet ring, right? So if you are a leader who has a strong signet ring, you generally do not like Immortality. So I think a lot of people, when they view Immortality, they thought Baron would take a hit, that Baron would not be as strong. So where's Baron now? Is he S tier, A tier, or B tier? So if you look at his Rise of X win rate, his Rise of X win rate actually is not very high as well. It also falls within this band of 5th to 8th, but all the top players rate him very highly. Do top players still rate him very highly? I don't think they rate him top 1, top 2, top 3. But how does he actually perform? So one thing about Baron is that one reason why his win rate is not reflected into how strong he actually is that Baron, when you play Baron, there are a lot of traps that you fall into, and somehow there's a lot of times when people will hunt you down at the table because I think there's some legacy to this that we must stop the Baron. But I think very bad play patterns come into deploying 4 troops into combats where you don't really need to deploy 4 troops, or to deploy 4 troops in a combat only to be thwarted by a beast, or to rush to get into stellar shipping only for it to get blocked by the player in front of you. So I think as a Baron player, you need to learn to identify these traps and avoid them. And I think to new players or to average players, they do see I think the line which I think I talked about in my Baron video is that if you're player 2, you can get shipping access very easily, but they often omit or do not see the other lines that they can play that would protect what their advantage is. So amongst the leader win rates for high elo, where do you think the Baron falls? Do write in the comments. Do you think he's A, B, C, D, E, F, I, J, M, N? Where do you think the Baron falls in terms of win rate? I think this is the most interesting one. So next we'll talk about is Princess Yuna Moritani. So Princess Yuna, I think, had a 27% win rate. I think when Immortality first came out, I thought she would be one of those who benefit quite a fair bit. She's quite popular with 376 games, not the most popular, but this is pretty average. I think in maybe 1 in 4 games you'll see her with 100 wins, right? So 27% win rate, which is very good, right? So why is she better? She's better because everyone wants to play experimentations and go to smuggling. So initially, when I thought about Immortality, I thought Yuna would do very well, but my initial plays of her, it wasn't that great because everyone started to figure out going to smuggling was good. So you couldn't really go to smuggle as much as you would normally want to as Yuna. I think in Rise of X last time you probably could get away with it more, but now you can't. Now you can't smuggle because everyone wants to go to smuggling. So if you can't smuggle, then isn't Yuna worse? Well, it turns out that actually Yuna is quite unique in that in position one you can smuggle round one and be quite happy with it. I think the only other leader you can do that is like Handro, but also you're not very happy with like just getting smuggling round one as Handro. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't play a lot of Handro. And that disrupts the entire table because I think a lot of times player 2 now goes under the assumption that he will be able to smuggle twice, round 2, round 3, and because you are able to do it in a very efficient manner, I think it makes position 1 Yuna very strong. So there are a lot of ways you can get Swordmaster round 2, be it smuggle wealth, or maybe some combat in between. And all in all, it's very good for Yuna because also the meta so revolved around Swordmaster and what the Swordmaster needs 8 Solari, and what does Yuna do well? And Yuna does well in getting Solari. So yeah, I think that's reflective of her win rate. Furthermore, you don't really need to play your signet ring until near the end of the game. So like the signet ring is strong, but you can always play experimentations first. So there are a lot of good things going for Yuna. I think Holy Boss is the best performer with Yuna. And Holy Boss is a very good player. He almost finished top 2 of the table, like in season 1. Then Drizzle played a bunch of games and went on an insane tear, eventually taking the top spot. So Holy Boss tried to take it back, and I think in the fight, like Holy Boss just fell out of top 10. I think he fell to like 11th place. Yeah, and then he lost his top 10, but he was trying very hard for top 1. And I mean, if you wanted to stay there, he definitely could have stayed at, I think, second place, or maybe third. I'm not too sure, but he has a 64% win rate with Princess Yuna, so do watch him play Yuna if you get a chance. He played 11 games and won 7 of them. Very good. So next we'll talk about Beast. Okay, so Glossu the Beast, Raban, or people will just call him the Beast. Okay, he has a 28.1% win rate, so this is also very high. So he is, I think, one of the most popular, maybe top 2 in terms of popularity amongst leaders. He has 651 games and he has 183 wins. He has very simple passives and ring ability, but they are very strong. Just 1 spice and 1 Solari alters how a leader feels, and I think that is a testament to how tight the game feels, right? So 1 spice and 1 Solari is very good. So I talked previously about how if your signaling is good, you find Immortality worse. However, I think Beast is one exception to this, right? So Beast, when you play your signaling early on in the game, you get 1 extra troop. This allows you to deploy 4 troops at a city space, right? So what happens is that players are actually finding themselves with less troops. I think if you observe games, a lot of times by the end of round 2, everyone has an empty garrison, maybe like 1 troop, or maybe 1 person has shipped. Right, but very often everyone has empty garrisons because they are fighting for the early resources, because early resources mean early Swordmaster, and they are not going to city spaces, so they don't get troops back, right? So because they aren't going to city spaces, then everyone's just bleeding out troops, and yeah, very often this extra 1 troop from the Beast just means a lot, and I think that is one of the reasons why his signet ring is still very relevant in this meta. So Beast is another one of those leaders that can get turn 2 Swordmaster by smuggling up and down. I think just by having the threat of it is very strong. If you deny that to him, if in position 2, he gets full space, and he's quite happy with that as well. So yeah, 1 spice Solari, very good. So one more thing about his ring is that I think because everyone has low troops, right? A lot of times people now can, like, if you're viewing your combats, a lot of times early on in the game, you can think like, okay, if I go Hardy Warriors, this combat will be like a 90% chance that I'll win this combat. However, Beast will very often prevent that, and by just having the threat of his ring, this like denies people the easy Hardy Warriors combat win. So they'll either have to deploy others or they have to risk losing it to you. Sure, as the Beast, you have to put in a lot of resources as well, but yeah, you have the choice, right? With the Signet Ring. Yeah, so Beast is very good. Sneaker I feel is the best Beast player. He has a ton of games on Beast, like over 30 games with Beast, and he has won almost 50% of the games. Right, he plays insane amount of games with very high rated players, and so I don't take this win rate lightly. He's very good with the Beast, and I think it is testament to like the flexibility of the Beast. Right, it's not so much that like some leaders need to do something very specific, but I think Sneaker plays the Beast in a very flexible manner, and yeah, that flexibility grants him the ability to win the game because he's so skilled at it. So here's where Beast and Yuna actually rank overall in high elo win rate. So they actually rank 4th and 5th, Beast and Yuna respectively. And yeah, this is corresponding to how I'm going through the video. So is the Baron in position F? I think that's something you can ask yourself. Yeah, but that's where we'll end off this video. We have 3 leaders remaining. They are Tessia, Ilwan, and Handro. Can you figure out where they belong as well in this chart? I think out of them, if you look at this high elo win rate, right? So 2 of them sit way above everyone else. And I think if you look at the just the overall win rates, 2 of them sit way above the rest. If you played any bit on season 1, I think you'll be able to figure it out, which are the 2 strongest leaders. But we'll get to the gods of Dune Imperium soon. See you around.